Whether the team is performing clean or unsightly, we'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, everything is kind of setting up the way we need it to. Pieces are falling into place. Every scenario that we needed to transpire on Sunday did. The Panthers lost. The Vikings lost. The Cowboys lost. The Eagles lost. Like, everything that we needed to happen happened. Now, we have to take care of our end of the bargain. And I've already told you guys this numerous times. I'll continue to repeat this because it's the truth. We have to take care of what we can control. Everything else will fall into place if we just win ball games. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing because they're going to lose games. Okay? The other teams are going to lose games. And if they don't, that's good for them. We worry about us. We keep winning games. We'll be where we need to be at the end. When the dust settles and the smoke clears, we'll be where we're supposed to be if we just win football games. And we've got a great opportunity in front of us on Monday night against the Seattle Seahawks. So looking forward to this challenge. It's not going to be easy despite the struggles of the Seahawks. Don't think for 1 second that they don't expect to come in here and beat us, because they do. They look at us like food. Again, we're only a 4-win team. They're a 3-win team. They're looking at us and saying we should be at the end of the night where they are. We should both have the same record. Russell Wilson is not going to lie down and allow this season to just rot away. He's going to continue to push and fight, and he's going to give his team a chance. So we have to come with our A game or he will do us. I hope a lot of you out there understand, because some of you, you're not going to understand that concept. You just expect us to win. You look at the Seahawks, you see them struggling, you see the record, you expect to win. Some of you don't take into account that they've got Russell effing Wilson on their team. That said, we're getting some reinforcements back. And it feels damn good. Feels good. Now, again, not until it's officially made public and officially made a thing am I going to acknowledge that these guys are going to be back. But what we've seen all week is trending towards Logan Thomas coming back at the tight end position. Remember, no Ricky Seals-Jones for the second consecutive week. He injured himself against Tampa, did not play against Carolina, is not going to play this game. He is ruled out of this football game. I told you I think that's a 3-week injury. Don't think he'll play next week either. We'll see what happens. He may be back next week. We'll see. But getting Logan back this week is huge. You got away with it last week with the 2 rookies starting and John Bates and Sammy Reyes, and you had to bring up Tamarick Hemingway. We don't want to have to go through that again. Let's get Logan back in the mix. Get John Bates back to tight end 2. Sammy Reyes is good enough to be TE3. He's shown us he can get out there and he won't trip over his own feet. Okay? But having a guy like Logan helps us not only on second down and on third down, but in the red zone. Okay? When things get tight and you need big targets, we lack big targets to get the football to, especially with Ricky Seals-Jones being out. Logan Thomas is as reliable as it gets in the green zone, really, the green area where we need to put it in the end zone and cash in. But it'll be great to see 82 back on the field if he is, in fact, activated from IR, which has not happened yet. And then he is, active for the game. And if he's activated off of IR, the assumption is he'll be back. And all signs point to him being back. Same can be said for one Curtis Samuel. Never, ever trust a man with 2 first names. We've been doing this song and dance all year long. I call it the Curtis roller coaster. And we've been riding it all year. I've advocated for them just putting him on IR for the season and calling it a wrap and saying, hey, let's get after it next year. They've thought better of it, and they may be proven right here. We'll see. We've been down this road before. Remember, he's played in games this season. It's not like he hasn't shown us anything. We've seen glimpses of what this offense can be and what his value to this offense can be if he's healthy. We've seen glimpses. The Atlanta game, right? He was phenomenal in that game. The Saints game, not so much. He really just made a cameo, and that was the one that kind of further extenuated the injury and made it a little bit worse, exacerbated it. So here we are again. The 3rd time we may see Curtis Samuel this season. We may. Again, I'm not going to say we are going to see him until he is activated and on the field. Then my eyes will believe what I've been hearing all week long. You know, what my ears have been hearing all week long. But my eyes, they're not fooled by anything that the ears tell them, okay? I need to see it with my own two eyes. If he's out on the field, it's going to give us a boost. And the thing that I love about it is Seattle really can't prepare for what we can bring offensively with him in the lineup because there isn't a lot of film of him in the lineup, simply put. And I've talked about the thing that's so fun about what we're doing right now is we're winning games while we're on the mend. We still are waiting for guys to get back. We're still not fully healthy. We're still waiting for guys on both the offensive and defensive sides of the football. We're still waiting for Montez Sweat to come back. We're still waiting for Samuel Cosmi to get healthy. We're still waiting for Ricky Seals-Jones to get healthy. We're still waiting for guys to come back and make this thing whole. You know, the guys that are going to be eligible to come back and make this thing whole. So to watch what we've done with no Logan Thomas, with no Curtis Samuel, with no Chase Young, with no Montez Sweat, and knowing that 3 out of the 4 guys that I just named could potentially be back at some point here in the next 2-3 weeks, that's encouraging stuff. And we may be getting 2 of the biggest pieces of our offense back this week in a huge game on Monday night against the Seattle Seahawks, you know? And I just love where we are and what this season has morphed into. From where we started to where we are now, this team has grown. They've shown those strides and created that hope of Ron's plan that we were hoping to see at the beginning of the season. You know, better late than never. And I look at the Seattle Seahawks and I see another team on the revenge hit list that we can try to scratch off. Okay, we've scratched off 2 of the teams last year that Heineke lost to, that this team lost to last season. Okay, we've gotten both of them back. Now the Seattle Seahawks are in the way, and they're on the list as well of a team that they got us last year and they shouldn't have. Scratch them off the list too, but we're going to need some big performances out of some guys, and we're going to need to continue to play the football that has gotten us this 2-game win streak, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on the show. But I'm excited potentially at the prospects. There are no guarantees here of Logan Thomas and Curtis Samuel. Never, ever trust a man with 2 first names being back in the lineup. I'll just say this. It's good to have them back if they do play, but I want them back for the long haul. Ron talked about pitch count with Curtis, not so much as Logan, but he talked about pitch count with Curtis. They're going to stick to it this time no matter what. I'm looking forward to seeing what we're able to do tonight and potentially moving forward if these 2 can stay healthy. So let's transition to in other news. And man, you know, being that I've been on this bye week, a lot has transpired since the last time we've spoken. Haven't talked to you guys since Tuesday night. And we've heard from everyone under the sun: Taylor Heineke, John Allen, Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson, Charles Leno Jr., you know, running backs coach Randy Jordan. We've heard from Scott Turner, the defensive coordinator, the offensive coordinator, or excuse me, Scott Turner, the offensive coordinator, Jack Del Rio, the defensive coordinator. We've heard from Ron several times, or at least a couple of times, I should say. We've heard from just about anybody you could imagine, right? So there's so much information to take in. I'm not going to sit here and try to recall what was said by everyone. I'll just pick out some things that I thought were pertinent. But before we do that, you know what we always do here. I'm going to take a look at this injury report, and I find this to be very fascinating, not only for us, but for the Seahawks as well. I don't know if there's been a point this season since week 4 in Atlanta where our injury situation exploded. I don't know if there's been a team that we've played against that has had a worse injury situation than us. I think we might have met our match this week. Let's take a look at the injury situation for both teams. We start with Washington, obviously, and there are no surprises here, which is a good thing. I told you, I don't like surprises when it comes to the injury report, right? There's never anything good when you get a surprise because we know who's injured for the most part, and we know what their situation is. We know what the injury is. We know what the time frame is supposed to be. So there's usually never going to be a good surprise on the injury report. Like, there's the rare occasion where you're expecting a guy to be out, and all of a sudden you look up and he was a limited participant. You're like, whoa, wait a minute. Didn't expect that. Or he was a full participant. Whoa, didn't expect that. Those are rare. They're few and far between. For the most part, any surprises that you get on the injury report are bad ones, are negative. we don't have really any here to speak of because the guys that are out, we knew they were going to be out. Sam Cosmi, we knew he re-injured himself last week. We didn't know exactly what. It was his hip. He's out, okay? And I would presume he'll be out for the next, 2-3 weeks, possibly a month. Hips are nothing to play with. We might not see Sam Cosmi until, the end of the season. So I wouldn't bank on seeing Sam Cosmi anytime soon. Tyler Lawson had the knee injury. Reports were it was a sprained MCL against Carolina. So obviously that's a tough loss because now you're digging into that center bag. You're going a lot deeper than you really want to go. But at the end of the day, he's out with the sprained MCL. We look at that as a 2 to 4 week injury. I would assume we won't see him for another 2 to 3 weeks potentially. So we'll see what happens there. We knew he was going to be out, though. Ricky Seals-Jones, he's got a hip injury that he sustained against the Buccaneers a couple of weeks ago. Did not play against Carolina. We knew he wasn't going to play this week. I told you I thought it was at minimum a 3-week injury. So we'll see what happens with that. But they got him listed as doubtful. He's out. Okay, he's not playing in this game. So Gibson, Holcomb, those guys aren't even listed on the injury report in terms of their availability, which is great. Same can be said for JD. Remember, I was worried about JD McKissic. And before we could actually have a full day of practice with the injury report released, my bye week hit. And so we didn't get to talk about JD. It is so refreshing to see that ankle and have him practice all week and then be a full participant on Saturday. So there's no issues with JD. He's full go, ready to, help us win against Seattle. So that is a huge boost to this offense. Brandon Sheriff with the knee. He's not listed. Neither is Shaka Toney. This is the first time he's been back since the concussion he sustained. I want to say he sustained that concussion against the Denver Broncos. It's been a while. It might even have been the week before that against Green Bay. So it's been a long time since we've seen Shaka Toney in a football game. It might have been Tampa Bay, too. I might be talking a little out of turn there. It's been a while. Just know that it's been a while since we've seen Shaka Toney on a football field. So that's good to get him back because we need all the depth we can get. Matter of fact, it was the Tampa game because I remember he had a pressure on Tom Brady in that game late in that ball game. So on a third down. So it was the Tampa Bay game the last time we saw Shaka Toney. Did not play against Carolina. Now he's back. So that's good. More depth along that defensive line, which we needed because, again, we're very limited at the end. And then John Bates with the rib injury. Good to know that the young fella, with the young fellas, they're easy to have bounce back. The bones are a lot more spry. The ligaments and joints are a lot more spry. So he had a rib injury, but he's been a full participant all week. He's not listed on the injury report for the game as well. So then you get to the questionables. We've got two. Adam Humphries was one that showed up out of nowhere. We didn't know he was banged up after the Carolina game, but we saw that on the injury report he was for practice. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday that he was on the side field. We heard he was on the side field with Curtis Samuel and Logan Thomas and some of those guys. We were like, whoa, what is he doing over there? So apparently he has a little bit of a hip. He was limited all week. I assume that they're just, being precautionary with the limited nature of his practice and questionable just to keep it on the safe side. He's playing. Okay. I'm not worried about him. And, the real one is Curtis Samuel. Sounds like he's going to play. I'm not counting my sheep, or my chickens before they hatch. At the end of the day, his groin has been a problem all year long. He's been limited in practice. He says he feels good. He was one of the guys that spoke at the podium over the course of this week. He said he feels good. He says that this has been the first time he's really been able to practice without any setbacks. So we'll see how it goes. Sounds like he's going to give it a go on Monday night. Sounds like he's going to be able to help this football team and this offense. And we'll see how many plays they have him out there. They've got a pitch count in mind. They've got a snap count. And I assume that it's going to be somewhere in the 20 to 25 range. Maybe it's 15. I like to think it's going to be a little bit more than that. It probably depends on, how many. It probably doesn't depend. Because we could have 75 snaps in the game, which is a ton. Is that going to up his pitch count, snap count to 20, 25? Probably not. They probably got a number in mind. I'd say that the best number for him would probably be, 20. I don't know his situation, so I can't say if 15 isn't a better number for his first game back in over a month and a half. But I'd probably say that number is somewhere in 15-20 range. Probably 20 on the high side, 15 on the low side. And it doesn't matter how many snaps we have, whether we only got 49 snaps in the game or if we got 75 snaps in the game. I don't think that's going to change. But if he's on the field, they have to account for him. And he's going to touch it at least 2 or 3 times in the 15 to 20 snaps that he's on the football field. So we feel really good about him potentially being back. But we transition to, so just to recap, only 3 guys are going to be out. Cosme, Larson, and Ricky Seals-Jones. I mean, that's a big improvement from where we were just 2 weeks ago against the Buccaneers, coming off the bye week. And prior to the bye week, we were the walking wounded. So we're making strides in the right direction. Hopefully we're able to continue that trend. Now we get to Seattle, and look at this list. My goodness, if you thought our list was long, even though a lot of those guys are playing, look at this list. My goodness, this is a laundry list. Like I said, there aren't many teams that can lay claim to the fact that they've got an injury situation that's worse than ours when you look at the injury report and how many names are on it. Because, again, the names on the injury report don't always tell the story, because a lot of times a lot of those dudes are going to play. But they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 guys on the injury report. I don't think we've ever had more than 12, I believe. 12, maybe 14 was the highest. They've got 18 on this list. And of the 18, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 have already been ruled out. Okay? Now, everyone else is playing. They're not even on the injury report. So I don't even need to go through the list of the names that are, up here. And some of these guys, as you can see, Dwayne Brown, Carlos Dunlap, Gabe Jackson, these guys are just veterans getting rest. That's the only reason they even appeared on this thing, was because they didn't practice one day, early in the week, because they got rest as a veteran. So, some of these names are really exacerbating this list, making it seem a lot worse than what it really is. But some of the guys that are out are impactful guys, like Trey Brown. He's been playing really well for them at the cornerback position. He might have been their best corner this season as a young guy, and he's not playing in this game. I think he hurt himself a week or 2 ago, and he's going to be out for a substantial amount of time. Jamarco Jones, their tackle, that's a big blow to their offensive line. Already isn't all that great to begin with. That's a big blow. Same with Damian Lewis. He's probably their best offensive lineman at guard is Damian Lewis, and he's out of this game as well. Rashad Penny just got back at running back. He's never healthy. I mean, that's something that's always been his problem for the Seahawks. I know they wasted a first-round pick on him at this point. But he's a speed guy. We don't have to worry about him now. He's out with a hamstring. And then Travis Homer is another guy that they really like at the running back position out of the University of Miami. Returns kicks, does everything for them. Third down back, catches it out of the backfield, runs it hard and physical, runs back kicks, does everything. Like I said, he's out of this game. So that's a big blow for them as well. So all of their guys that are out are impactful guys. So everyone else is playing, though. Of this list of guys, 18 of them in all, 13 are going to play. So they're okay. You know what I'm saying? But 5 of the guys that aren't playing are impactful guys. So, this is a good look for Washington heading into this football game against the Seattle Seahawks. But real quick, I don't want to, talk about what was said, because there were so many things said over the, life of the week that it'd be too long to try to encapsulate everything that was said. But quickly, Gibson spoke. They were going to really pepper him with fumble questions and ball security questions, and they did, and he handled it like a champ. And he said, look, I took my medicine. I knew what it was, and I deserve to be benched. I gotta be able to take care of the football. I got to be better in that aspect. Talked about things that they've worked on to try to do that. And we'll see what happens. But he said, when I got back in there, I made sure I made the most of my opportunity, and that he did. I thought he ran extremely physical, hard, and got yards after contact. I thought he was extremely impactful in the second half of that football game. And one of the reasons we were able to come out victorious, despite a couple of blunders, including not staying in bounds at the end of the football game. We heard from Curtis Samuel, talked about how good he feels right now, and this is the best he's felt all season long. That's a good thing. We'll see if it continues to trend in that direction, and how he feels post-game is going to be just as huge as how he feels during the game, because we've played without him before. So we know that if he gets injured, or, knock on wood, or, if he re-aggravates something, or he's not able to finish the game, we can survive without him. We've done it all season long. But, man, we'd love to have him for this stretch run. Man, would he give us a massive boost. So, What's even more important for him is not necessarily what he does in the game or how he feels during the game, but how he feels there after the game is going to be, because he hasn't played in 2 straight games this season. Hasn't done that yet. So I take that back. I told a story. He played in the 2 games back-to-back against Atlanta at New Orleans, and then the New Orleans game was his final game. And we haven't seen him since. So we'll see what happens. I'll just leave it at that. We'll see what happens with him. But he says he feels really good, and he's in a good mental space, and those are all things that you want to hear. The couple of things, the coordinator spoke, and Scott Turner continues to talk about Taylor Heineke's development and him getting the ball out on time. I think that's the biggest thing, because we know his arm isn't the strongest in the world, but it's the anticipation, getting the football where it needs to go, when it needs to be there. And I think that was something that he didn't necessarily do earlier in the season. He's still harping on the fact that he's taking too many sacks. He's, not getting out of the pocket quickly enough or making a decision, and he's taking unnecessary sacks and killing some drives. Got to be better than that. And so I love the fact that he's continuing to hold his feet to the fire there and keeping him accountable in that regard. Got to continue to be better with your decision making in terms of getting out of the pocket. I know you want to protect the football. I know you don't want to, put it in harm's way, which that's the biggest thing. I'd rather you take a sack than, fumble the football to throw a ill-advised interception, which he was doing earlier in the season. But at the end of the day, if there's an escape lane, get out. If there's a check down, take it. Don't take a sack, or even if you get out of the pocket, throw it away. Don't take a 4-yard loss when you're out of the pocket and you can just pitch it out of bounds. So he talked about those things as well. Jack Del Rio continues to talk about the growth of this defense, and a lot of people keep harping on the fact that this defense is playing better without Montez Sweat and Chase Young, yada yada yada. I'm never going to subscribe to that. So you can stop. You can save your breath. You can save your keystrokes. Okay, we're never going to see eye to eye on that, but I would be remiss if I said that we're not playing more disciplined with those guys. And Jack Del Rio even acknowledged that, guys being selfless. He said he used the term selfless, which I think it's a little shot at them. And look, it all is fair and with this right now, because those guys have been warned. They were told, look, we need you guys to kind of conform and fit into what we're doing. Don't play hero ball, but play team ball. And, they weren't always doing that. So, yes, we are getting more orchestrated and synchronized rushes. We're getting guys to give up their rush like Casey Toohill did on a critical 4th down to get a piece of Christian McCaffrey. We're getting guys to do the team thing and not their thing. Yeah, I will acknowledge that, okay? But he said, look, we're playing well as a unit, and, this is something we need to continue to do. He talked, the Cam Curl praise continues, which it should. This guy has been phenomenal from day one since he stepped in the building. And Jack said, we knew this dude was different when we got on our first Zoom call. Remember, he was a rookie in that COVID 2020 season that was impacted, where you couldn't practice, you couldn't meet, things of that nature in the offseason that first year. And he said the first Zoom meeting we had, this guy was answering all kinds of questions about our scheme. And I said, okay, this guy's different. He gets it. And all I've heard ever since he's gotten here is how smart he is. And you can tell on the football field because of how many different positions they play him at and his response to being put in so many different positions. This guy is phenomenal. He's our Swiss Army knife and one of the better players on our defense already in only his second season in the league. So Jack continues to sing his praises, as well as some of the other guys like Jonathan Allen and what he's done this season. And he talked about, the sacks coming in bunches and, Jonathan just continuing to play his game. But, what Jonathan does is what we're trying to get Chase and Montez to do, and that's play within the scheme. Jonathan's one of those guys that says, look, I'm just going to do what I'm supposed to do, be where I'm supposed to be, and the sacks will come. If I just do what I'm supposed to do, and play team ball, I'll give myself up. One of his sacks came on him being the stunt guy where he's supposed to occupy 2 blockers, and he still bounces off one of the guards and gets inside of him and gets to the quarterback. Like, you're the one that's supposed to be occupying the 2 blockers, allowing the guy to loop around and come free, and yet you're still getting a sack. When you do your job, good things happen, and that's what Jack Del Rio pretty much said about Jonathan Allen and his ascension this season. And then, lastly, Ron Rivera talked about, the pitch count for Curtis Samuel. He said, look, Logan Thomas not really going to be on that much of a pitch count if he plays. We feel good about his injury, and it's a totally different injury. His is a hamstring, whereas Curtis is a groin. So, it's all about just getting those guys back into football shape. He's like, look, football shape and practice, you want as many wind sprints as you want. It's not the same as actually going out there and playing in a game, and he can't be closer to the truth with that one. I mean, we could talk about getting into shape, but there's nothing like football shape. There's nothing like basketball shape. If you've ever been an athlete, you can run as many suicides as you want. You can run as many snakes as you want. It can't prepare you for what's to come in a game because there's so many different things that crop up that don't when you're just running, out by yourself. So I think you're going to see some guys having to tap out, some guys being extremely exhausted that haven't played in a while, and that's okay. That's okay. And I think we're in a much better position for other guys to step up if those guys have to come out because of, what we've had to deal with those guys being out. We've adjusted already. So they'll have to adjust to what we're doing. I don't think we'll have to adjust as an offense to assimilating those guys back in. So I feel good about where we are, and it sounds like the team is prepared and ready to continue on. A guy that is really starting to, I think, become a leader on this team and someone that I'm starting to gravitate towards. I thought he was a 1-year rental when he first got here. I think, and I've told you that Ron has taken a strong liking to this guy, and I think he's becoming very vastly a leader on his team, is Charles Leno Jr. And he talked about, just continuing to stay the course. That you remember his line that everybody ran with was, we needed to find an identity after the loss to Denver right before the bye week. And he says we're starting to, find that identity. He said the biggest thing we got to continue to do is be successful on first down and set up, third and shorts. Successful on first and second down to set up those third down and manageable situations so we can convert. And then he was like, look, we got to continue to score in the red zone. That's a big thing that we got to continue to do. And I think he's a guy that not only, if he continues to stay healthy and play the way that he's played, not only is he going to become a leader on his team, but he's going to be here for a while. I could see him getting a 3-4 year extension in the offseason and them bringing him back and us not having to worry about left tackle for the next couple of years. That was one of those positions we thought we were going to have to draft. I don't think that's a position that they're going to be looking to, divulge resources into this offseason. I think they feel like they've got a left tackle, being that Leno is in his 8th year. And we know tackles, if they take care of their bodies, they can play 15, 16 years. Look at Andrew Whitworth with the Los Angeles Rams. Look at Jason Peters, who's playing with the Bears right now. Like, guys can play for a very long time if they take care of themselves. I think Charles Leno Jr. is just hitting his stride. And, the Bears told us, good luck with that guy. Well, thanks. He's actually been excellent for us this year, and I think they love what he's brought to the table, not only from a physical standpoint on the field, but also from a mental standpoint with his leadership off the field. So I think this is a guy that's going to be back, and just listening to him talk, he continues to endear himself to me and other fans out there with the way that he talks about what this team needs to do on the field and what they need to do off it as well. So that's the gist of what was said. Again, so many other guys spoke, and but again, can't cover all of it because we've missed so much time. So let's get to what we really want to talk about, and that's our game situation and our preview for the upcoming Monday night matchup against the Seattle Seahawks. And so let's get to our behind enemy lines, where I give you my preview and my keys to the game to victory for the good guys. And obviously, we always start on the offensive side. Washington's offense versus Seattle's defense is where we will begin. And the first two are the exact same two from last week because they're so instrumental, and you're going to probably hear these a lot more moving forward. But it's essential again this week, and I'll explain why. And it's essential every week, but they're essential for various reasons from week to week. So the first one is protect Heineke and protect the ball. And so protect Heineke goes without saying, because when Heineke's protected, he makes smarter decisions. He's able to be more accurate with the football. This offense stays on schedule, and we don't have to dig ourselves out of a 2nd and 18 hole, and we have a chance to stay where we need to be ahead of the sticks in third and manageable situations. So protecting Heineke is a must. And the Seattle Seahawks, they're not a big sack team, but they can be if you don't do your job adequately enough. But, protect the ball is huge because we've done a better job of that, but we've still had a turnover in each of the last 2 games post-bye. Both of them have been fumbles. Heineke has, been living dangerously at times, especially in the Tampa game. Not so much against Carolina, but we got to protect the football. At the end of the day, the biggest thing that Seattle's been struggling with is scoring points. And you don't want to turn it over and give them short fields and give them opportunities to score points and give them confidence. They're struggling on offense right now. And we'll talk more about that when we get to the defensive side of things. But they're struggling on offense. The one thing our offense can't do is contribute to their offense getting off the schneid. And this is a Seattle Seahawks team that has struggled to score, struggled to convert in the red zone, struggled to put drives together consistently. Let's not help them by turning it over and giving them great, field position, prime opportunities to score. Make them earn everything they get. And we can simply do that by ending every possession in a kick. Whether it's a punt or it's a field goal or it's an extra point, we need to end every possession with a kick. We do that, we're going to put ourselves in a position to win this ball game because the Seahawks have been struggling. And we cannot contribute to them getting out of their rut. The next key to the game offensively is Heineke Ultra, not Heineke Light. You've heard this before. Ultra, 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 Ultra. We need Heineke Ultra, not Heineke Light. He's been Heineke Ultra the last 2 weeks, coincidentally enough. And really, it's not a coincidence. 2 wins. And, against quality opponents at that. So if he is at his best, if he's playing his brand of football, we're going to be a tough team to deal with. And I think that if we can continue to protect, if we can continue to run the football, if Scott Turner can continue to keep this thing balanced and getting Logan Thomas and potentially Curtis Samuel back, that's going to help him be comfortable back there because there's more guys for him to get the football to and out of his hands and into the hands of playmakers. It's going to help this football team exponentially. So Heineke Ultra, not Heineke Light. That's been a theme since the bye. Really, it's the theme of the season. And when we've won, he's been spectacular in our 4 wins. When we've lost, he's been right at the center of the loss, probably along with the defense. So when he's good, we're the tough team to beat. Simple as that. That's why we need Heineke Ultra, not Heineke Light. The next key to the game, out-physical, outlast the Seahawks. Okay? They're going to be physical. That's the one thing. In mired in this losing streak and their struggles this season, a lot of things have been overlooked and glossed over. The one thing I'm going to make sure that I explain to you is that this is still a physical Seattle Seahawks football team, especially on the defensive football side of the football. They fly around. They still got Bobby Wagner. They still got Jamal Adams. They still got a bunch of guys that are flying around, hitting anything that moves at 1,000,000 miles per second, okay? So we have to out-physical these guys because they're going to come with their hard hat and their lunch pail. They're not worried about being 3-7 right now. They're not worried about their 2-game skid. They're just worried about winning the next one. And if they come out and they take it to us physically, it's going to make it tough on us to win this football game. The beauty of it is we've been in physical football games before. That Tampa Bay game was as physical as it gets, and the officials allowed us to play in that game, and thus we went, and came out of a war victorious. We won the battle. We won the war against Tampa. So I think we are battle tested and ready for this. But don't make any mistakes thinking that Seattle's going to come in here pussyfooting around and looking to just lay down. They're going to come in here and they're going to look to lay the lumber. We got to out-physical them, and then we got to outlast them. Because the team left standing at the end is going to be the one that was the most physical, made the least amount of mistakes. That's the team that's going to last, and that's the team that's going to look up at the scoreboard, and they're going to have more points than the opposition. We've got to out-physical them, but we've also got to outlast them. Eliminate the mistakes, eliminate the penalties, and make the winning plays when it's winning time. Outlast these boys on the scoreboard and come out with the victory. The next key to this offense, winning this game against Seattle, is to find Jamal Adams wherever he is on the field. And this is a twofold find Jamal Adams. Find him when he's lurking around the line of scrimmage or lurking down around the middle of the football field as a lurker looking to undercut something. Find him, okay? Locate 33 at all costs. He's a blitzer. The last time we played them, he almost single-handedly destroyed us. I go back to when he was with the Jets in 2019 when we lost to the Jets. He destroyed us in that game. I think he had like 3 sacks in that game, okay? Last year when we played them, I don't know if he was healthy or not, but this is a guy that has been a thorn in our side since coming into the league. We have to find Jamal Adams when he's a blitzer because they want to get him some free hits to the quarterback. And we know he's looking to get the football out. We know he's a playmaker. But I also want to find him in coverage. He is not dynamic as a cover guy. Find his ass in coverage and take advantage of it. Wherever Jamal Adams is, find him. If he's 30 yards off the football, great. Let's take advantage of him. If he's down around the line of scrimmage, account for him. If you can't block him, make sure you're getting rid of the football so he doesn't get to Heineke or get to the whomever has the football unabated. Because this guy can change ball games. But find him. If he's in coverage, good. Find him. Go to where he is because he's not great in coverage. But if he's down around the line of scrimmage, if he's in the middle of the football field as a lurker, find him because if you don't, he can and will make you pay. And then finally, the last key offensively for Washington in this game is to get points, period. We talked about this last week against Carolina. They're not a high-octane offense. They're not scoring a bunch of points. Just score points, okay? In certain games, you got to go out with the mindset of we got to put it in the end zone because this team can score. Like when we were playing Tampa, hey, we need to score 30. We scored 29. We knew that it was going to be that kind of game, right? When we played Carolina last week, I said, look, just get points, period. Like the Panthers aren't going to light the scoreboard up. Don't worry about that 34-point outburst they had the week before against Arizona. That's not who they are. They're not a 30-point a team game. They're more in the high 20, in the mid to low 20s, really high teens. That's where the Panthers usually reside. Just get points and you'll win the game. Find a way to end the possession with some kind of points on the scoreboard. You scored 27, you scored 26, you scored 29. You're probably going to beat, the Panthers last week. Same thing can be said with the Seattle Seahawks. You scored 27, you scored 28, you scored 29. You're going to probably beat them. They're not an explosive, high-octane offense right now. That doesn't mean they can't be this week, but if the trend continues, and I don't love their offensive play caller, Shane Waldron. He's struggling this year. If you score points, if these possessions end in points, you're going to put pressure on them to have to keep pace. And they haven't done a good job this season of keeping pace when pressure has been applied. Just score points, period. Okay? Whether it's a touchdown or it's a field goal, whatever. Just get points. Add those up at the end, and I think we'll have enough to call ourselves victorious for the third week in a row. So we transition to the Washington defense versus the Seattle Seahawks offense. And the first key to the game there is limit the explosive plays. Look, this hasn't been a big play offense this season, especially the back end of the season since Russell Wilson's injury. Early in the season, they were the same explosive, dynamic Seahawks offense. And as the season wore on, they got less and less explosive plays. But that isn't for a lack of trying. I'm going to tell you right now, Russell Wilson is going to throw at least 4 deep balls down the field. He's going to force it. And he's thrown picks, forcing it deep this season. He's going to take shots. And the thing that scares me against teams like Seattle with Russell Wilson at quarterback is you can't see the back end. When we're at home and we're watching the TV copy, all you can see is the front 10 guys, the 5 guys on the offensive line, 5 guys on the defensive line, and anybody else that's added into the mix, whether it's a tight end or a running back and the quarterback. You can only see a select few. You can't see the back end. And when that quarterback sets up and chucks it deep, you don't know what's on the other end of that screen, and you're just hoping and praying when the other team's on offense that it's not a guy running scot-free back there, or it's not a one-on-one situation, but you've got 2 guys back there looking to pounce on the football. These past couple of weeks when Russell Wilson has decided to chuck it deep, generally speaking, there's been 2 defenders back there ready to make a play on the football. That's what I want to see when he loads up and chucks it deep, because he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care if it's single coverage. He doesn't care if it's double coverage. If they load up a deep shot, he's going to take it. And he trusts his guys to make plays, especially DK Metcalf, to go up with 2 defenders down there. We cannot allow the explosive plays. They've been struggling to matriculate the ball down the field. They've been struggling in the red zone. Last week, they were 2 of 10 on 3rd downs. We have to make sure they earn everything that they get. And Russ doesn't give a shit. He's going to throw it deep to DK 2 or 3 times. He's going to throw it deep to Tyler Lockett 2 or 3 times. He's going to push the football down the field, whether we want him to or not. We've got to deter him by picking him off once or twice and getting him to realize, okay, I can't force it. But if he gets one-on-one, he's going to take it. God forbid we blow a coverage. We haven't done that in forever. I'm going to go ahead and knock on some wood. We haven't done that in forever. I want to continue that trend. The communication has been excellent the past few weeks. We need to keep it that way and make sure that they earn everything they get and they don't get any explosive big-time plays. And even if they get a big catch, don't let it go for a touchdown because they've struggled in the red zone. Speaking of which, red zone defense is the next key to the game. The Seahawks have been awful. They had gone, until last week, they had gone a full 7 quarters, and I think it was 14 or maybe 15 straight drives without finding the end zone. They were struggling. And then they finally found the end zone against the Arizona Cardinals sometime in the third quarter. They were struggling, and they have been struggling. Remember, they got shut out by the Packers just 2 weeks ago. Last week, they only mustered 13 points. This is a team that is struggling. So in their last 2 games, with Russell Wilson back under center, this is a team that has only scored a combined 13 points in the last 2 games. They're struggling. And they're struggling most of all in the red zone. They're not finding the end zone. Russ isn't extending plays and finding someone open. We have to stay attached to guys when Russ escapes the pocket. Plaster is the term you hear all the time. We got to plaster to these receivers. Don't give Russ any avenues to throw the football. We have to keep him contained in the pocket, which that's the next key to the game defensively. Contain and pressure Russ. Remember, we played them last year. We should have beat them. We lost 20-15. He had a big, massive 36-yard run that set up a touchdown pass right before halftime. We can't allow those things to happen. When things break down, he wants to use his legs. We need to have the same kind of rush we had last week where we kept Cam Newton essentially bottled up in the pocket. There was nowhere for him to go. We need to be orchestrated, and we need to be all on the same page with our rushes. We need to stay in our rush lanes and not allow him to escape the pocket and out-leverage us, getting outside of the contain. Keep him inside. That's what teams have been doing, keeping him bottled up. When he tries to do that patented Russell Wilson spin around so he can go in the opposite direction, there needs to be a defender waiting on him. So he either hits the deck or he takes a massive shot and that ball comes out. But he can't be squirming backwards and then finds a guy 30 yards down the field because he's got a strong arm. He can flick his wrist and that thing can go a mile long. And so we have to make sure we keep Russ contained in the pocket, and that will help with that red zone defense. We have to keep them to, at a minimum, if they get 3 red zone trips, they can only score 1 touchdown. If they get 4 red zone trips, only 2 touchdowns, okay? They shouldn't have any more than 4 red zone trips in this game or we're in trouble. We have to keep them out of our red zone first and foremost, but if they get there, they can't be north of 50%. Really, I would like to keep them less than 50%. But if they get in there, we got to keep them less than 50%. The next key to the game defensively for Washington is no tickets to the Metcalf and Lockett show. Okay, no tickets for that show this week. If they want to put on an extravagant Broadway show featuring DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett next week, by all means, knock yourself out. They cannot have a sold-out show this week. Okay, those are the go-to guys. Okay, we know who they're trying to get the football to. We know who their playmakers are. We've identified them. Now slow them down. I'm not saying you got to stop them, but Lockett can't have 5 catches for 127 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Metcalf can't have 4 catches for 111 yards, including an 82-yard touchdown. Like, we have to limit these guys. I want Metcalf to have one of those invisible games where at the end he's ready to fight somebody because he's only had 7 targets and he's only got 1 catch for 7 yards. I want it to be one of those games for him. I don't want it to be one of those explosive dynamic games where he's making big plays. Lockett, he usually gets his regardless. So if we can do what we did to Devontae Adams, to Lockett, to Tyler Lockett, I'm all for that. If he gets 5 catches for 71 yards, 5 catches for 68 yards, I'll take that. That means we did our job against Tyler Lockett. What I don't want to see is DK have an explosive play, Lockett have 2, and they score 27 points in this game because we gave up big plays to their 2 best receivers. We know who they are. We have to account for them. If somebody else gets us, you got us, okay? If they're rookie Dwayne Eskridge, who can also fly, if he gets us, okay, a rookie got us. We got blessed by somebody else. So be it. But don't let it be the guys that we know are capable of doing us. That's what it can't be. Then finally, the last key to the game, defensively for Washington versus the Seattle Seahawks offense. make them one-dimensional, and make it 3rd and long. Okay, the Seahawks, when they're at their best, they're a balanced outfit. They run it. They play action fake off of that run. Russell Wilson is able to then really get into a rhythm because he's in 2nd and medium. He's in 3rd and short. And then that's when you get those shot opportunities. You know, when you get into 3rd and 2, the elite offenses or the elite quarterbacks, they risk it all. You know, they're not afraid of 3rd and, you know, throwing it deep on 3rd and 2. Ben Roethlisberger does it all the time. You know, you see the elite quarterbacks where they just say, you know what, it's 3rd and 2. They're expecting a run. They're expecting short route. Let's just eat them up with this double move and take a shot down the field. We've got to keep them out of 3rd and shorts. We've got to make them one-dimensional. Make Russell Wilson feel like the world is on his shoulders and they've got to win because he's got to complete 40, throw 47 passes and complete 39 of them. Make him feel like they can't win without his production because that's when he starts to press. When there's no run game, he starts to press and then he starts chucking it into double coverage. And that's when opportunities for plays to be made defensively to force some turnovers occur. But if they get into a rhythm, they're getting 5, 6 a pop on the ground, and they're balanced. Now you got to come up for the run. Now they can get one-on-one outside. Now we can go play action fake and cut it loose. That's when you get into the danger zone. You shouldn't be alone. You don't want to be there against. There's a reason why his name is Dangerous. Okay? There's a reason why. You put them in one-dimensional situations where Russell Wilson has to make all the plays, and you're halfway to a victory. Because he can still do it, but you're halfway there. You start letting them run the football. They start getting balanced. They start feeling good about themselves. They get into a rhythm, and now Russell Wilson can do you. Now you're in trouble. Now you're in for a dogfight, and you may lose the football game. Make them one-dimensional. Put them in 3rd and longs. They should be in 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 11, 14, consistently throughout the game. They're an undisciplined team. They pick up penalties. They have loss of yardage on plays. Russ takes sacks. Put them in 3rd and long and see if they can navigate their way out of it. Those are the keys to the game. If we adhere to these like we've done the past 2 weeks, I don't see how we don't come out victorious. We're the better football team. We're playing better football. We're playing with more confidence. We need to go out and find a way to assert ourselves and find a way to win this football game, which takes us to our final segment, which is my final outcome for this game. And I just see this being another one of those games that, we don't make it to 30 because it seems like 30 always escapes us for some reason, against the Buccaneers when we won with the same score as I'm predicting for tonight, 29-19. We decided not to kick the extra point because the only way they could, get back into the game was if we kicked the extra point. So I see this game being, eerily similar to that one. I see the score being 23-19 late. We're up. And then we put together, and what we've done recently, we put together a masterful drive. We scored a touchdown. And just like the last time, we don't, attempt the extra point because we don't want to give them a chance to, return it. And that's how we end up with 29. But I see us being in a dogfight. I don't think this is a walkover victory. I see the Seahawks scoring 2 touchdowns. I do see them missing an extra point and then kicking 3 field goals, and that's how they get their 19 points. They're going to be right in this ball game, but I think we make the winning plays when they have to be made, and we ultimately win this thing 29-19. Extend the win streak out to 3 games and really start to make things interesting, not only in the NFC East, but in the NFC wildcard. I think with a win, we may actually leapfrog the Minnesota Vikings because we have a better conference record than the Minnesota Vikings, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that, but the Vikings occupy the 7th spot currently at 5-6. We win this game, we're 5-6, and I think our conference record is better than Minnesota. So don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Got to go out and win the football game, but everything that we want is right in front of us right now. We need to find a way to win this game, and then we can start turning our attention to the Vegas Raiders, but not a second before. We got to take care of these Seahawks. They're going to be scrappy. They got Russell Wilson. They got Bobby Wagner. They got Jamal Adams. They got DK Metcalf. They got Tyler Lockett. They got playmakers, man. They got guys that are good enough to come in here and get us. We got to stay on our P's and Q's, Y's and Z's and find a way to get it done. But with the addition of Curtis Samuel. I think this offense can be more dynamic, and getting Logan Thomas back helps in the red zone. It helps on first, second, and third down. It helps us in every way imaginable. Now we got to go out and execute. We do those things. We're the better team. We should win this football game. But again, what we should do and what we do are two different things. Let's see what happens on Monday night. Bart Scott! Can't wait. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T here on Washington Football Nightly. Hopefully you'll join me tonight for Monday Night Football overtime. I'm still on my bye week technically, so don't expect everything to go back to normal after this. I don't come off of my bye week until Thursday, so we'll see how things will go and what we'll do from a content standpoint. Depending on what the outcome of the game is, that may alter my decision making as to what I'll do. But just know that we will be live. If you're in the MOBB, we'll be live for the game. So look forward to that. If you are looking for some content right after the game, you know where to find me. Monday Night Football Overtime. We will be live right at this game's conclusion, and we'll talk about it. Whether we win, lose, draw, we will be here talking about it all. So I will see you guys for that at the conclusion of the game. But that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Remember, I am a Washington fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Washington spirit will never die. Washington spirit will never fold. Until we meet again, hail to our beloved Washington football team. Big shout outs and congrats to A1_93 for winning the 2 free tickets to this Monday night tilt versus the Seattle Seahawks. My only request when we do giveaways here on the Louie T Network, if you're in attendance, whether you got the tickets from me or you bought your tickets or you got them by some other means, if you're in attendance, you know the routine, you know the drill, but I'm going to say it anyway. Go to the game and bring back the dub. I'll see you at the conclusion of Seahawks and the good guys.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap. Hand to Riggins. Good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone. Touchdown.